Hey everybody, and welcome to my review of The Suicide Squad. First off, let me just state my opinion on the very original movie. It sucks. Like, wow, does it suck. It amazes me just how much people just let this film slide when it first released. But after watching Cosmonaut Variety Hour's review of it, I now finally understand just how much of a mess it is. So since Warner Brothers wanted Suicide Squad to be Guardians of the Galaxy so badly, they even got James Gunn to do the sequel. After all, it was pretty clear they had no idea what made Guardians of the Galaxy so good in the first place, since all the first movie was basically just classic pop songs and funny humor. So thankfully, they hired the talent himself to make The Suicide Squad. So, was this long-awaited sequel worth the wait? Yep, it definitely was. I'm sure you already know the plot. Amanda Walter assembles a new team for the Suicide Squad to battle a giant Patrick the Star. And first things first, it's already off on a way better start than the first. Let me explain something. I still want the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad as a lot of people, but here's the thing. More of the original cut means more Jared Leto Joker. And I don't like Jared Leto Joker, not just because he's horrible to witness, but because he adds absolutely nothing to the plot. Like, seriously, am I the only one who thinks Joker shouldn't have been in the movie at all? The only time he should have been in the movie would be in Harley Quinn's flashback scene. Actually, scratch that. Joker and Harley Quinn should have had their own movie before Suicide Squad. But I'm sorry, that would require actual planning ahead on Warner Brothers' part, and I guess that's just too hard for them. Sorry, I just really hate the DCEU. I like some of the movies, but it's still a shit show. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the first movie wastes way too much time setting up so much bullshit. I don't think the main mission even begins until like 45 minutes in. But not here, it gets going right away. We even see a ton of the characters die before the opening credits roll. The main threat is already established by this point, so we can already get a move on. I like that. I come to a Suicide Squad movie to see the Suicide Squad, not this shit. So anyways, I really enjoyed these characters. Harley Quinn is great as usual. Rick Flag is surprisingly good as well. Bloodsport was far better than I expected, and surpasses Deadshot from the first movie. Polka Dot Man was the best character, if I'm being honest. Peacemaker was very entertaining, and his rivalry with Bloodsport was easily one of the highlights, and I'm generally looking forward to his solo series. Overall though, King Shark and Ratcatcher 2 were definitely the hearts and souls of the team. It was a smart way to really dive into the depth of these characters when you have villains who don't really feel like villains. That's really what makes this feel like a James Gunn movie, the level of heart it has, even if it really is nothing like Guardians of the Galaxy. I suppose next up, I should talk about the deaths. Now, this is only a personal problem I have, and it's really only a problem with the marketing. If you really watch all the trailers, you can sort of piece together who survives until the final act. It was pretty obvious who was going to die at the very beginning because you only see the first team on the beach and nowhere else. It's not to say I didn't find some of the deaths unexpected. Rick Flag was a huge surprise. I didn't think the main leader of the squad and one of the main characters in the first movie would be taken out. I also had somewhat hoped that Captain Boomerang would somehow be spared until the very end, and that's why he wouldn't be in most of the film. But nope, he dies just like that. And honestly, I'm okay with how Polka Dot Man went out. I know a lot of people are disappointed since he was so likable, but I think it worked for what the character was going for. He went out feeling like a hero and fully standing up to his bitch mother. People also gotta remember he is still a joke character, essentially in the movie just for the lulz. It makes sense he would have a silly death like this. I do find it weird though that two characters that were supposedly dead come back in the two end credit scenes, but I guess it is nice to see them alive. The action is great, no surprise there. There's really good directing and camera work, which you don't really see from a lot of superhero movies these days. The text on screen was a really neat addition. The biggest praise I can give this movie is that it really feels like someone was able to do whatever the hell they wanted. There's a lot of weird choices that typically wouldn't be allowed by a lot of studios, yet Warner Brothers finally decided to shut their mouths on this one and actually let a filmmaker do his job. That's sorta unheard of these days. Unfortunately, it wasn't perfect, because now I'll state some of my gripes. The humor doesn't always land. That was always my biggest worry going into the film. I was worried the jokes would sort of downgrade it a bit. I still like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but it also had a similar problem of forced jokes. It still can be funny, of course, and it doesn't necessarily harm the movie too much, but it still could have been improved. Also, some characters could have been utilized a bit more. I understand the first team of characters existed just to die, but they still could have had a bit more of a purpose. Like Blackguard betrayed the team, resulting in the death of most of them, and Javelin at least resulted in the death of Starro. Too bad none of those other characters did anything. Like, would the movie have been any different if Mongol wasn't in it? But that's it. Those are the only problems. Basically, it's just a fun time. Is it the dark, gritty, emotional drama the first Suicide Squad was trying to be? No, but I think it's nice to see a comic book film not take itself too seriously and still have heart when it's needed. That's honestly where the DCEU works best. I'm giving The Suicide Squad an 8 out of 10. So long, folks. I'm gonna commit suicide.
Ready,